They don't appreciate you. When you're always available, they get used to your yes, your presence, your effort, your silence, and then they stop noticing you. That's the paradox of people. The more you give, the less they respect it. The more you explain, the less they listen. The more you show up, the more they take you for granted, until you do something they didn't expect. You leave, and in that moment, everything changes. Suddenly, they remember your value. Suddenly, your silence gets louder than your voice ever did. Suddenly, your absence becomes the only thing they can feel. Why? Because walking away is the only move they didn't prepare for. Niccolo Machiavelli understood this deeply. He lived in a time of shifting power, betrayal, and survival, and he didn't believe in the illusion of fairness or eternal loyalty. He believed in leverage, in control, in power not as aggression, but as discipline. And to him, one of the most powerful things you can ever do is to become indifferent. Not passive, not cold, but uninvested in outcomes. You no longer need to control. Machiavelli saw the game for what it was. People only value what they can't predict. They only chase what's walking away. They only respect what they have to earn. And when you're always there, they stop earning you. You become routine, expected, emotionally free, and people don't respect what comes without effort. You're probably thinking, but I was kind, I was present, I was real. Yes, but in their mind, you were always there, which means they never had to ask, what if I lost them? And when someone never fears losing you, they never truly value you. That's why your withdrawal becomes a crisis. It disrupts the dynamic. It shocks the rhythm. It introduces scarcity, where there was only abundance. And scarcity breeds value. Machiavelli didn't write about love, but he understood people. And people are predictable. They want what they can't have. They overvalue the silent. They worship the indifferent. Why? Because indifference signals strength, and strength is what they're really attracted to. You probably spent your life trying to be enough, trying to be understood, trying to fix things through more effort, but you don't fix imbalance with giving. You fix it by leaving. That's not weakness, that's strategy. And Machiavelli would agree. He wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." Not because fear is the goal, but because respect without emotional leverage is the foundation of control. When people know you can walk away without warning, without drama, they watch their step, they weigh their words, they recalculate their attitude. Why? Because they finally feel your absence is risk, and that's the key. Your presence is only powerful when your absence has weight. If you can't walk away, you can't be respected, not truly, because people sense your dependency. They smell your need. They recognize that you care more than they do. And the one who cares less always has the upper hand. So what do? You recalibrate. You stop over-explaining. You stop over-giving. You stop over-investing. And most importantly, you start walking, not with noise, not with anger, not with dramatic exits, but with stillness, with calm, with indifference, because walking away isn't about punishing them. It's about protecting yourself. It's not about control. It's about release. It's the move you make when you finally understand that your energy is more valuable than their attention. That's when the game flips. Suddenly your silence becomes power. Your mystery becomes gravity. Your absence becomes presence. And the same people who used to ignore your availability start chasing the space you left behind. But here's the twist. You don't go back. Because once you learn what indifference feels like, once you taste what it's like to stop seeking approval, you don't crave it anymore. You stop needing to be needed. You stop fearing the unknown. You become unshakable. Machiavelli didn't teach cruelty. He taught strategic distance. He knew that power is not about dominance. It's about restraint. The one who can hold still while others panic always wins. So now you stop chasing. You let people misunderstand you. You let them talk. You let them feel the loss they never expected to feel. Because your time, your presence, your energy are no longer free. They must be earned. The more emotional you are, the easier you are to control. Anger makes you impulsive. Fear makes you obedient. Desire makes you blind. But coldness gives you time. It gives you clarity. It gives you the edge. Niccolo Machiavelli never preached warmth. He didn't care about your feelings. He cared about your outcome. He understood what most people deny. Power doesn't go to the passionate. It goes to the prepared. The person who can stay calm when everyone else is reacting. That's the one who controls the game. Not the loudest voice, not the kindest heart, not the one who loves hardest, the one who sees the full board and moves in silence. You've been trained to equate emotion with authenticity, to speak from the heart, to act on instinct, to feel your way through life. But that's a myth built by people who benefit from your reactions. Because emotion is predictable. Anger, easy to trigger. Guilt, easy to exploit. Love, easy to weaponize. But when you go cold, not numb, but disciplined, you become unreadable. And what people can't read, they fear. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." He knew that image was everything, but not to impress, to disarm. The best strategy isn't to fight harder. It's to make sure no one sees what you're actually planning. That's the power of detachment. When you're calm, you're dangerous. Because calm says, I don't need to argue. I don't need to prove anything. I don't need to explain myself. Calm says, I see more than I say, and I act only when it matters. That kind of presence makes people second-guess themselves before they ever challenge you. You probably spent your life explaining too much, reacting too fast, trying to make people understand. But Machiavelli would tell you, understanding is not the goal. Control is. Not control through force, but through discipline, through being the one who doesn't flinch. You can feel pain, but don't broadcast it. You can feel love, but don't beg for it. You can feel disrespected, but don't respond with chaos. You respond with strategy. You withdraw, you recalculate, you execute, without a sound. The more you react, the more power you give away. The less you react, the more people wonder, what are they thinking? What will they do next? Did they even feel that? And that mystery becomes your shield. Machiavelli believed in fear over love, not because he wanted cruelty, but because he understood human nature. He wrote, "It is much safer to be feared than loved, if one must choose." Why? Because love fades. Love turns into expectation, into entitlement. But fear, real respect born from composure and mystery, lasts. And here's the truth. People only love you as long as you remain useful. But they respect you only when they can't predict you. So stop giving them access to your emotions like it's free content. Start observing. Start holding back. Start using silence as a response. Not all emotion is weakness, but uncontrolled emotion is vulnerability. And in a world that rewards the ruthless, your peace must be armored, not exposed. You think you gain power by being expressive? You gain power by being unreadable. Let them guess. Let them miscalculate. Let them waste their energy trying to provoke a reaction. That never comes. When you master your reaction, you master the room. When you master the room, you control the pace. And when you control the pace, you win before the game even starts. The next time you feel yourself boiling, pause. Not because you're weak, but because you're about to become strategic. You don't yell, you don't flinch, you don't collapse. You walk away like a storm that didn't need to thunder to remind the world that it exists. There's a reason rare things are valued. It's not because they're always better. It's because they're harder to get. People want what they can't reach. They desire what they can't predict. They chase what isn't always available. And the more you offer yourself freely, emotionally, mentally, physically, the faster your value disappears. Machiavelli knew this. He understood that power isn't just about presence, it's about scarcity. He believed that your greatest leverage comes not from what you say, but from what you withhold. A wise ruler, he wrote, must know how to conceal his intentions. Why? Because exposure invites weakness. Transparency removes tension, and tension is what keeps people watching. You think being open makes people trust you, but openness without boundaries makes you disposable. They don't need to guess. They don't need to wait. They don't need to earn. And what isn't earned is never respected. That's why the ones who always say yes are always forgotten. That's why the ones who explain themselves constantly are always misunderstood, because nothing loses power faster than availability without cost. You don't need to be cruel. You don't need to hide forever, but you do need to be selective. Selective with your time, your presence, your silence, your truth, because when people feel they have unlimited access to you, they stop valuing what they access. Start withholding, not as punishment, but as preservation. Don't answer every question. Don't show up for every invitation. Don't explain every boundary. Let them feel the distance. Let them wonder what you're thinking. Let them earn the next layer. Because mystery isn't manipulation, it's magnetism. When they don't know your next move, they respect the space between moves. That space, that silence, that delay, that's where your gravity lives. You don't need to be the loudest in the room. You need to be the most difficult to read. That makes you unpredictable. And unpredictability is the death of manipulation. Machiavelli wrote, "Never attempt to win by force what can be won by withdrawal." Sometimes pulling back creates more impact than pushing forward, because it shifts the power dynamic. It forces them to approach you on your terms. This is the strategy. You don't chase. You don't beg. You don't explain. You pause. You pull back. You hold your ground. And that holding, that controlled absence, becomes your presence. People fear absence because it creates imagination. And imagination is stronger than explanation. Let them imagine what you're thinking. Let them replay their last words. Let them calculate their next move without knowing if you'll even respond. The one who withholds sets the rhythm. They determine the pace, the silence, the weight of each word. Because now, every message you send, every glance you give, every move you make carries more gravity because it's rare. Start speaking less, not because you don't have words, but because your words now have value. Don't fill the silence. Don't soften your boundaries. Don't react immediately. Hold, wait, watch. That patience, that refusal to rush, that's dominance. The room adjusts to you. The conversation slows to your tempo. The people lean in because they don't want to miss your next move. Machiavelli didn't teach emotional suppression. He taught emotional discretion, the power to choose what to show, when to show it, and to whom. And that discretion is what makes leaders unforgettable. You don't need to broadcast your thoughts. Let them guess. You don't need to explain every choice. Let them interpret. That uncertainty is the most powerful weapon you'll never have to swing. So now, you become rare, distant. Still, you say less, you show less, you offer less. But everything you do offer matters. Because now, you're not reacting, you're commanding. And that is the art of withholding. They thought you'd stay, that no matter what, you'd keep showing up, keep answering, keep forgiving, keep bending, until you didn't, until you stood up and walked away. No warning, no explanation, no emotional scene, just distance, clean, quiet, final. And suddenly, the power shifted, because walking away is not about escape. It's about signal. It's the ultimate message, delivered in silence. And in that silence, everything becomes louder. Your absence starts to speak louder than all the words you ever said. Your decision to withdraw becomes a mirror they can't look away from, not because they miss you, but because they lost control. Machiavelli understood the power of walking away, not as retreat, but as strategy, because the one who walks chooses the terms of the game. And when you choose the terms, you win before the next move is made. It is not titles that honor men, but men who honor titles. To walk away is to honor yourself more than any role they placed you in. The fixer, the listener, the always available one. You leave the role and become real, and real cannot be used. You've probably spent years fighting to be understood, to be chosen, to be treated fairly. But some people only understand distance, only respect silence, only feel the shift when you're no longer within reach. And that's okay, because your job is not to teach them your worth through repetition. Your job is to demonstrate your value once and then walk, not to hurt, not to manipulate, but to remember that your energy is not infinite and your presence is not guaranteed. You are not a subscription, you are a decision, and now you've made it. You don't need closure, you don't need permission, you don't need to explain, because the walk is the answer. It's not about going somewhere else, it's about returning to yourself. And the ones who lost you, they feel it. They may never say it, they may act unaffected, but the silence eats at them, not because they love you, but because they can't reach you. And for people who feed on your reaction, that silence is starvation. They'll remember your presence. By the weight of your absence, they'll replay the last moment. You said nothing and left. They'll wonder, when did the game end? But the truth is, it ended the moment you stopped playing. That's the paradox of leaving. You don't lose, you restore your value, your peace, your rhythm. They thought they had time. They thought they could push the line. They thought you'd never go. And then you were gone. Machiavelli didn't romanticize loyalty. He understood timing, when to wait, when to withhold, and when to disappear so cleanly that your absence becomes the new center of gravity. You didn't walk away because you stopped caring. You walked away because caring was being exploited. You didn't walk because you had nothing left to give. You walked because you chose to stop giving to those who never gave back. That's not cold, that's clear. And now you walk lighter, you breathe easier, you think sharper, because the game no longer needs to be won. It's already over. And you didn't win with anger. You didn't win with proof. You won with silence. Let them wonder. Let them talk. Let them rewrite the story. You're gone. And that's the only truth that matters. You didn't walk to punish. You walked to rise, to reclaim the time you gave to confusion, the energy you wasted on chaos, the strength you gave away through trying. Now, you try no more. You walk, and that is how you win. They thought you left to be dramatic, to get attention, to punish them. But you didn't. You left because you were done negotiating your worth in places that couldn't see it. You left because peace started feeling better than being understood. You left because staying was costing you more than leaving ever could. Niccolo Machiavelli wouldn't have told you to explain. He would have told you to disappear with purpose, because clarity doesn't require permission, and power doesn't raise its voice. It walks away without needing to be chased. You're not cold, you're focused. You're not cruel, you're calibrated. You're not detached, you're finally choosing what deserves your presence. You will not be guilted back. You will not be manipulated into repeating yourself. You will not dilute your silence to make others feel comfortable in their confusion. You are gone, and your absence is the message. Let them translate it. From now on, you don't overstay, you don't overgive, you don't explain your leaving. You leave once, well, completely. And the moment you do, you return to yourself. So if this video reminded you of who you were before they drained you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to remember the power of walking away. Comment below, I choose distance over noise. Let the world know you're not playing small anymore. And if this was a wake-up call, don't go back to sleep. This is not the end. It's the beginning. The journey continues in the next video.